Welcome back, warrior. We are reading Exodus chapter 4 today, or right now. So here's the preface. We know now that Moses has left Egypt, and we are working on Moses and him going to talk to Pharaoh, right? So we'll see how it goes. But Moses is like, who, me? Like, that's where we're at, right? So the Lord gives the signs to Moses. Aaron is chosen as a spokesman. Israel is the Lord's firstborn and must be released to serve him. And Moses' son is circumcised. Moses and Aaron lead Israel in worship. Okay, so we have 31 verses. Here we go. And Moses answered and said, let's see, why is feel like I must have pressed number 2 or something. Okay. And Moses answered and said, but behold, they will not believe me, nor hearken unto my voice, for they will say, the Lord hath not appeared unto thee. And the Lord said unto him, what is that in thine hand? And he said, a rod. And he said, cast it on the ground. And he cast it on the ground, and it became a serpent. And Moses fled from before it. That makes sense, because I would totally do the same. I'd be totally scared, right? And the Lord said unto Moses, put forth thine hand and take it by the tail. This is where I'd be like, no thanks, right? And he put forth his hand and caught it, and it became a rod in his hand. Ooh, fancy, right? And I only say that I wouldn't because I would totally be so scared, right? Okay, but of course, Moses just saw the transformation of the rod into the snake, so he could totally do this, right? This feels very Harry Potter-ish. Okay, verse 5. That they may believe that the Lord God of their fathers, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob, hath appeared unto thee. And the Lord said furthermore unto him, put now thine hand into thy bosom. And he put his hand into his bosom, and when he took it out, behold, his hand was leprous as snow. Oof. Do we remember the talk from Hank Smith about having his skin, because he got burned in the sun, having his skin just go poof when he was like into the congregation? Poof. Anyway, it was so funny. We'll have to, he's a youth speaker, so we'll have to see if we can find where it is. Anyway, and he said, put thine hand into thy bosom. Oh, okay. Again, and he put his hand into his bosom again, and plucked it out of his bosom, and behold, it was turned again as his other flesh. And it shall come to pass, if they will not believe thee, neither hearken to the voice of the first sign, that they will believe the voice of the latter sign. And it shall come to pass, if they will not believe also these 2 signs, neither hearken unto thy voice, that thou shalt take of the water of the river and pour it upon the dry land, and the water which thou takest out of the river shall become blood upon the dry land. And Moses said unto the Lord, O my Lord, I am not eloquent, neither heretofore, nor since thou hast spoken unto thy servant, but I'm slow of speech and of a slow tongue. Okay, now, this is Moses, this talking to the Lord is kind of hilarious, right? Because who knows us the best? The Lord. So the fact that Moses is trying to be all like, actually, I'm shy, or actually, I'm not very good with words, right? And he's like, dude, you were like an army general. Are you kidding? Like, what do you mean you're not good with words? Now, what I think he means here is that he's not good with words of the gospel. Words that truly matter, right? Like, he's like, I know words. Like, obviously, like, I'm not like those, like, I know how to say words. And I think it's just he's nervous about being eloquent with the gospel terminology and gospel words, and especially his testimony, you know? I mean, how many times do, the 18-year-olds get sent out on missions, and they probably think the same thing, that they're not eloquent enough to be talking about Jesus Christ and the gospel. And of course, his testimony is still growing. And I mean, obviously all of our testimonies are still growing, but I do love that he was just honest, right? Like he was just like, I'm just not eloquent, right? And so then the Lord is like, and the Lord said unto him, who hath made man's mouth? Or who maketh the dumb or deaf or the seeing or the blind? Have not I the Lord? He's like, what are you talking about, right? Like I made you like this. Like I made you, I made your mouth. I made, all the things. Like, are you kidding? You're going to say that you're not eloquent? Now therefore go, and I will be thy mouth and teach thee what thou shalt say. So he's like, oh, don't worry. I'll teach you what to say. Right. And this is so good because it's true. When we trust in the Lord completely, he will tell us all things what we should say, right? And do. Verse 12, though. Okay, President Gordon B. Hinckley said this. It is not always easy to be obedient to the voice of the Lord. We may feel inadequate, okay? I frequently draw comfort from the conversation Moses had with Jehovah, who called him to lead Israel out of Egypt. Moses was a fugitive and a herder of sheep. How totally inadequate he must have felt. In 1837, when the church was struggling in Kirtland, Ohio, the prophet Joseph Smith called Heber C. Kimball to go to England to open the work there. Brother Kimball explained in self-humiliation, O Lord, I am a man of stammering tongue and altogether unfit for such a work. How can I go to preach in that land, which is so famed throughout Christendom for learning, knowledge, and piety, and to a people whose intelligence is proverbial? But then, on reflection, he added, however, all these considerations did not deter me from the path of duty. The moment I understood the will of my Heavenly Father, I felt a determination to go at all hazards, believing that he would support me by his almighty power and endow me with every qualification that I needed. And although my family was dear to me and I should have to leave them almost destitute, I felt that the cause of truth, the gospel of Christ, outweighed every other consideration. Orson F. Whitney, Life of Heber C. Kimball. Okay, and that was President Gordon B. Hinckley quoted that in the General Conference talk in 1971 called "If Ye Be Willing and Obedient." So, like, Moses is not the first person to feel super inadequate. At every single calling I've ever been called, I've felt inadequate. Doesn't matter if I was called to serve in nursery or to be a primary teacher or to be in the activities committee or to be president of any of the young women's primary or relief society. At all times I feel inadequate. So I think it's just one of those things that's like a human emotion that we succumb to because Satan is so real and tries so hard to make us feel this way, right? And so it's just easy for us. And then the whole what is it called when self-deprecating, we're always doing that also, right? Which is not something Christ does, right? And we're trying to be like him. So anyway, okay, so verse 13, and he said, "Oh my Lord, say it again. And he said, "O my Lord, send, I pray thee, by the hand of him whom thou wilt send." And the anger of the Lord was kindled against Moses. And he said, "Is not Aaron the Levite thy brother? I know that he can speak well. And also, behold, he cometh forth to meet thee. And when he seeth thee, he will be glad in his heart." Okay, so I love that the Lord is all like, what? Fine. I guess it's fine. You have inadequacies. We can work with this. And he's like, I'll see what we can do, right? It's kind of like the Lord's like, well, yeah, sure, you can, fine. I'll send Aaron, but I do love that the Lord was mad. I bet he wasn't angry, but that, that's the terminology that they use. But I bet the Lord was just sad that Moses didn't just fully outright trust him, right? And so I'm sure that with time, things changed, right? Because as we know the story, lots of things are going to happen. So Moses asks for a replacement, right? But Moses' response is like, send someone better than me, right? Or more fit for the task. As if Moses' insecurities were wiser than the Lord's judgment on whom to call, right? And of course, the Lord was kind of upset. So it was Moses who was being called, not Aaron. Aaron could stand by Moses and be his spokesman, but it was Moses the Lord was calling. And Aaron could only say what Moses tells him to say, right? And so this is verse 15, 16, and 17. It says, and thou shalt speak unto him and put words in his mouth, and I will be thy mouth, and with his mouth, and will teach you what ye shall do. And he shall be thy spokesman unto the people, and he shall be to thee instead of a mouth, and thou shalt be to him instead of God. And thou shalt take this rod in thine hand, wherewith thou shalt do signs. Okay, now, I think the Lord agreed to this, or figured this was going to happen, or planned this, or, whatever. And is going to use this. I love the quote from, I think it was President Uchtdorf or Elder Uchtdorf. He says something like, or maybe it was President Holland. They said something like, God has always had imperfect people to work with throughout all of time, and he deals with it, right? Like, he knows and he deals with it, and so should we. And so he knew that this was going to happen, right? So, but also, don't we know that the Lord does love two people to be like missionaries, right? Like missionaries, 2 by 2. And so he was probably like, oh yeah, this actually works because, I was going to have him go with you anyway. I just was hoping you would do most of the work. But I guess now we'll just figure it out, right? Like I'll tell you what to say, and you tell Aaron, and then Aaron's going to tell the people, kind of thing. Like, that's how we're going to go, right? Like, it's going to trickle down. And that made Moses feel more comfortable, right? Of taking this, accepting the call, I guess, right? And I think that helps us too. When we're called to serve in different positions, it's like, oh, you know what? Can I call counselors? That would be awesome. Or can I call a secretary? That would be amazing, right? And that, seriously, they are heaven sent, right? Until Satan gets to them, and then they become not heaven sent. Which I did have an experience, which is sad, and have to save that for another time. Verse 18, and Moses went and returned to Jethro, his father-in-law, and said unto him, let me go, I pray thee, and return unto my brethren which are in Egypt, and see whether they be yet alive. And Jethro said to Moses, go in peace. And the Lord said unto Moses in Midian, go, return into Egypt, for all the men are dead which sought thy life. Okay, so I guess that much time had passed, right? And Moses took his wife and his sons and set them upon a donkey, and he returned to the land of Egypt. And Moses took the rod of God in his hand. And the Lord said unto Moses, when thou goest to return into Egypt, see that thou do all those wonders before Pharaoh, which I have put in thine hand. But I will harden his heart, that he shall not let the people go. Okay, now let's talk about this. The Lord doesn't harden people's hearts. Okay, we will notice that his heart will be hardened. But who's the one that makes that choice? Obviously Pharaoh and Satan. So, but I don't know why the translation says, I will harden his heart, right? Verse 22, and thou shalt say unto Pharaoh, thus saith the Lord, Israel is my son, even my firstborn. And I say unto thee, let my son go, that he may serve me. And if thou refuse to let him go, behold, I will slay thy son, even thy firstborn. Okay, wow. How did we get there so fast? I thought the plagues were all first. Somehow we are doing this with the son. I always thought that was the last one, but okay. Since Moses had been accepted among the Midianites, he needed permission to leave, which he apparently requested in verse 18. Moses then took his wife and his sons. Notice he has multiple sons now, and went to Egypt. Okay. He knew that he would be performing wonders before Pharaoh, but Pharaoh will harden his heart, and he will not let the people go. See the Joseph Smith translation for verse 21. Okay, so we're going to go there because, honestly, that just seems crazy, okay? 1 second. Okay, so I just did a quick search, and it says this is what it is in the translation. The Lord was not responsible for Pharaoh's hardness of heart. Okay, where is it? It says, when goes return wonders before Pharaoh, which I have put in thine hand, and I will prosper thee, but Pharaoh will harden his heart, and he will not let the people go. Okay, so that's how it reads, right? Let's read that one more time. And the Lord said unto Moses, when thou goest to return into Egypt, see that thou do all those wonders before Pharaoh, which I have put in thine hand, and I will prosper thee, but Pharaoh will harden his heart, and he will not let the people go. Okay, so I'm not going to pretend to know why the translation or why the original text didn't say exactly what it is. And the fact that they could have translated in a way that made more sense to us and was correct would have not been that hard. So they purposely changed the meaning. And I don't know, like, I'm going to scripturally speculate here and say that maybe they didn't want people to know that there was Satan and God. Because if Satan exists, then we have a whole new battle, right? Like, and I guess maybe because it's like eye-opening, right? When you can know Satan and you know the enemy. And I love President Nelson for this. He always talked about Satan and how to strengthen ourselves against his tactics, and that we need to have the Spirit with us always, And so I'm guessing that the reason why the scriptures read that way, as if it were God, is because they didn't want us to know that Satan exists. It's simple. Because I think that would have meant more questions for the people back then, or trying to figure things out, right? And of course, Satan's always trying to act like there's no Satan, right? Because if there's no Satan, then there really is no God. Like, why? Like, right? There's opposition in all things. There, of course, Heavenly Father is there, and Satan is there too. So anyway, that's what it is. Okay. So now, verse 24. And it came to pass by the way in the inn that the Lord met him and sought to kill him. Wait, what? I'm confused now. Then Zipporah took a sharp stone and cut off the foreskin of her son and cast it at his feet and said, surely a bloody husband art thou to me. So he let him go. Then she said, a bloody husband thou art because of the circumcision. And the Lord said to Aaron, go into the wilderness to meet Moses. And he went and met him in the mount of God and kissed him. I'm so confused, okay? You and me both, okay? So it says, these are strange verses, yeah. And the Joseph Smith translation gives some insight into the meaning of them. It appears that Moses had forgotten to have his son circumcised. Some scholars suggest that Moses and Zipporah had a newborn son. The Lord makes clear that these rituals and tokens are important to him and not to be ignored. Moses was going to be a leader to the Israelites, and he was learning that these things matter. Imagine how many times this event would have gone through his mind as he led the Israelites in the wilderness and introduced the law of Moses to them. A law full of ceremonies, rituals, and symbols that needed to be done with exactness. Okay, so I guess that's what it was. Would have been super crazy. The fact that Zipporah knew how to do this, also mad props to mom, okay? Sometimes moms just got to do what they got to do, right? But also, like, it does make sense that, like, sometimes we think, oh, Moses, why didn't he just do all the things? But remember, he grew up an Egyptian and had his mom there sometimes, right? And so he didn't get all the customs, and he doesn't know how serious certain things are. So I'm going to let him off the hooks for that, right? Because even now, I think our teenagers don't think certain things are serious enough, right? And so or kids, right? And so like, it's because everything, you have to learn line upon line. And if you're just trying to learn it all at one time, it's kind of hard. And so it's kind of the same thing as like the word of wisdom with back in the day in the Doctrine and Covenants. It's like they were not all perfect at not smoking or chewing tobacco or whatever. And, you know, that's why like it takes time for human beings to learn certain things, right? We wish we could all do cold turkey and quit things, right? But it takes time. Anyway, so we're going to be patient with Moses, and he's obviously still the Lord's mouthpiece here. So verse 28, and Moses told Aaron all the words of the Lord who had sent him, and all the signs which he had commanded him. And Moses and Aaron went and gathered together all the leaders of the children of Israel. And Aaron spake all the words which the Lord had spoken unto Moses, and did the signs in the sight of the people, and the people believed. And when they heard that the Lord had visited the children of Israel, and that he had looked upon their affliction, then they bowed their heads and worshipped. Okay, so God sees their affliction. Moses was now with his brother. Okay, so I spoke too soon. At the beginning, I said that we were going to see Moses in Egypt, but technically, I guess he's still not there. Moses was now with his brother Aaron, and Moses told Aaron all the words, and they began by gathering the elders of Israel, and Aaron used his gift. Oh, maybe he gathered the people of Israel in Egypt. Oh yeah, because, okay, so I did. But he hasn't talked to Pharaoh yet. Anyway, they began by gathering the elders of Israel, and Aaron used his gift and spake all the things, and the miracles were performed before them, and then they worshipped, right? So imagine how they must have felt to know that deliverance was so close, right? Also, imagine how Moses would have felt to going back into Egypt for the first time after he had left. Like, that would be so hard, I think. And just so hard for him, you know, as he's the one who grew up there. And I'm guessing just like normal humanness, it's like you love people that you have grown up with, right? Whether they were, I mean, especially as children, right? Like, as children, you just don't know any better. And like, he grew up there, and it was just children. It was just like his childhood, and it was probably full of joy and fun until he grew up, right? And saw the real thing happening. Anyway, so it must have been really hard for Moses to go back. And maybe some of the nostalgia, but maybe some not. And also being a little bit scared of like, what's going to happen, right? Like, so anyways, okay. We are done with Exodus chapter 4. Let's read it, live it. Okay, and it says, and the Lord said, and the Lord said unto him, what is that in thine hand? God didn't ask Moses to find something extraordinary. He used what was already there. You already have what God needs. Offer what's in your hand. Ooh, that is so good. And I love that it's exactly like our strengths, our experiences, all of who we are. The Lord is working with what we have in our hands. Ooh, I love that. And that makes it special, because if we had to go and try extra hard, we are going to try extra hard, but like, we're going to work hard because we know that the Lord loves effort, but he's going to use us from where we're at, you know, and I love that it says like, we already have what God needs. And sometimes we think that that's not true, but clearly we do. And anyway, I love that so much. All right. If you're looking for some support with trauma, I have created a mini trauma kit snail mail club, and it's basically includes all kinds of fun things to strengthen our relationship with Christ, strengthen our relationship with ourselves, and and get that extra healing and support that we need. So if you're interested, go to lindawinegar.com and you can get more information there. All right, until Exodus chapter 5, stay strong, warrior.